Welcome to the Everything podcast for creatives who do everything except pick one thing.
In this podcast, we talk to multi-passionate creatives, artists, writers, entrepreneurs, and innovators of all kinds about how they manage their many projects, what works for them, and the lessons they've learned along the way. We have conversations about unconventional careers and take a look into the creative minds that refuse to fit in a box.
New episodes every first Wednesday of the month.
Hello, and welcome to another Wednesday. So today we are here with one of our favorite topics, I think, and hopefully many of you resonate as well, which is the overwhelm of living in a brain with too many ideas. Yes, too many sometimes. So today we're going to be diving into this topic, and we are also going to be introducing something we came up with creatively called the idea arc, which we'll get into in a moment. But before we get into all that, I have a question for you, Kelly.
All right, give it to me.
So, have you always had a brain that overflows with ideas? Or was there like a moment when you just realized this is how I'm wired?
Okay, so I think I might always have been like this because I remember being a child and having like a mom who complained about like never finishing hobbies. Like she would just like I wanted to go like swimming, and then she would be like, "All right, let's do it." And after two lessons, perhaps I would be like, "Nah, I'm bored," and she would be like, "No, we just bought everything." So, and yeah, I do remember I had a lot of hobbies, a lot of interests, and I mean, I always kind of quit when we just like invested all that money in that new hobby. I was like, oh no. So I think might be part of it.
So you always kind of were like that even since you were a kid, basically.
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay.
mean, it feels like it. What about
Okay.
you?
I think for sure. I think since I was really young as well, I used to entertain myself for hours by myself, which, I mean, in the days that run is rare, I guess, because kids have all the stimulation and technology as well, which is something. So in that case, I'm glad I was alive.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was born when I was, um, because it just allowed me to really sort of nurture that imagination, because that's
Yeah,
what it is at the end of the day, isn't it? It's just like an abundant imagination.
it is.
So yeah, it's a good thing, you
I think
know?
so. I mean, like as long as like nobody really shamed you for it.
Yeah.
I guess I was excited all the time. Like
Yeah.
I was never like a boring kid.
Yeah.
I had fun a lot of time. So
Yeah, and you entertain yourself really, really nicely, which is, I think, a superpower as well. But for sure, I think there is a balance when it comes to structure as well, right? So we can't just sort of like start everything and finish nothing, especially
yeah,
if there's like, investments made, right? Like it's
yeah.
hard to sort of balance those two things.
Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely. As adults, definitely
oh
too.
yeah,
Like
for
I
sure.
think as a kid, it's not too bad if you jump
No,
into everything. But
especially because you're just exploring, right? So I
yeah,
think like as a kid, it's kind of like being in a playground. You kind of want to ride everything, just to try it out because you're
yeah,
learning, right? You're exploring. Whereas, later on you kind of have to make commitments and, take responsibility for your choices, which
yeah,
is not so fun.
yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so we had to pause that recording quickly because there was unprecedented noise from neighbors. So we're improvising, which is perfect. Okay, so I guess that was a good point to stop because then we can now move into the idea arc. So, what is this idea arc that we came up with? It's kind of like an English class when they were explaining, how the narrative arc goes, where it starts with the problem and then there's like the person trying to solve the problem, and then there's like the climax of the problem, and then there's the revolution of the problem. Revolution, no, resolution. Whoops. Anyways, so kind of taking in that same idea, we have the idea arc. So it starts with the first part, which is great, which is, ooh, so many shiny new ideas.
Yeah, it's like the part where we're still like super excited and like very like much dopamine is flooding our
Oh, yeah.
brain. So yeah. And the first question I'm gonna ask you about that is, how do you decide which ideas to pursue when they all feel exciting or urgent at the same time?
So I would say that this is the best and the worst phase because of
Yeah.
that, right? And I mean, I guess your question kind of ties in to the first point in the arc and the second point, which is,
Yes.
uh-oh, which idea do I pick?
Yes.
um, so I guess this is something that is really difficult to decide because when you're always, so overwhelmed by lots of different possibilities and lots of different ideas, I mean, first of all, you never have like a creative rut or dry spell because you literally see an idea in everything. It's like,
Yeah.
if you could be staring at a wall for 5 minutes and you would come up with 60 ideas. It's
Yes.
that overwhelming, which is great, you're very creative and imaginative, but it can be really difficult to sort of be realistic and say, okay, which one's worth my time,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if you feel that's like the question that appears for me anyways. It's like, what's worth my energy here?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, we can't do it all, unfortunately. I mean, we can try, but I don't think that's a healthy way to go at it.
yeah,
So,
for sure. And I always joke with my friends saying, I would be rich if I could just sell my ideas, you know?
yes. Oh my god, yes.
I'm sure that's a job. If anyone knows if that's a
Yes.
job, please reach out to me privately.
Yes.
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, because that would be great. I mean, I'm good at having the ideas, but I'm not necessarily the one that would be best to execute them all, right? So I don't
yeah.
have all the skills, I don't have all the knowledge, I just have the idea, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, I mean, I remember saying it to somebody actually recently with the ideas. I love this analogy. Apparently, ideas are kind of like light bulbs. They're
Mm.
floating around in space. We can't see them, but they're there. And whenever we are ready, apparently, it decides to like come float above our heads, basically.
Oh, I like
And
that
then we get
idea.
to work on it.
Mhm.
But whenever we're like done with that idea or we're like just stuck or whatever, it knows. So it
Mm.
just floats back up into space and chooses somebody else who wants that
That's
idea, I
such a
guess.
nice idea.
Yes, I really I don't know where I read it. I just remember it being really cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think I mean it's really fun to have like all these ideas, but it is heartbreaking sometimes to have to choose,
Mhm.
to know that we can't do it all, even though we want to do it all. But and I guess choosing the idea
Yeah.
is definitely one of the most difficult parts
Yeah,
of being
for sure.
multi-passionate, I think.
For sure, and I think, well, yeah, that is the second point of the arc, right? It's the
Yeah,
selection process, which, you know, is the first tier of the selection, right? Because then you
yeah,
have to select which ones you continue with, afterwards. But at least to begin with, it can be overwhelming, I think, and I speak for
yeah,
myself, I'm always trying to sort of connect my multiple ideas, which is
yeah.
even more exhausting,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of like I'm trying to fit everything into, like, these umbrella ideas, if you will,
Yeah.
um, and sometimes that in and of itself is, like, really a lot of energy
Yeah, yeah,
spent.
it is. Going off on a tangent because,
Mhm. Tangents.
ADHD. But I was talking with somebody about that's actually our strength, I guess, like
Mm.
having all these ideas and
Mhm.
making connections. And I wonder how that's gonna change because we're using AI so
Oh,
much.
that's a
Like we're
great
using
that's not a tangent,
ChatGPT.
that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I feel
Yeah.
like I've become quite used to using ChatGPT for a lot of things, and I've caught myself even yeah, like him helping me. Yeah, I know, not genderizing AI, but for me, it's a him.
It's a masculine
Yeah,
energy. I mean, not necessarily like man, but it's a
yeah.
masculine energy for sure, yeah.
And I guess I wonder how it ties into me having the ideas and not getting help from
Right.
AI too much. I guess.
That's such a good question or point.
Are we gonna lose? I guess our not
Mhm.
ability.
Same way I think screen time zaps, kids' imagination, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it's kind of similar, and it's interesting you brought up AI because I think what I use it for the most is to structure my ideas. So
Yeah,
I'll still be the one having the
Yeah.
ideas, but I'll ask it to structure them for me. Is lazy. It's lazy. I mean,
It is a
I don't
little bit,
I
yeah.
just have to be honest with myself, it's laziness, and now I'm so used to it, and it saves so much time, and I think,
Yes.
that's another problem, which kind of is a tangent, but also ties into what we're
Go
saying,
for it.
which is, you know, you have to be selective in life
Yep.
because you can't do it all, and I think with, AI and with the fast-paced sort of internet world in which we live in now, like, it's almost so attractive and enticing to pursue all of your ideas
Yeah.
because you can
Yeah.
do a million things at the
Yeah.
same time. And because since you have, AI to help you, you can do even more things at the same time. And the problem is when you kind of fall into this trap, everything's a little bit like bubble gum, right? Nothing is really sort of digested or chewed, and it's all just very fast and instant. And sure, you're doing all your ideas, but are they any good in this way? Like, there's no real substance.
Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, I totally know what you mean. And
Yeah.
that's like, I don't know, it feels like because our brains are already really fast paced, it just
Mm,
adds on top of it, I guess.
yeah, and it's
Yeah.
almost like feeding an illusion
Yes.
that you can be everywhere all at once,
Yeah.
and then you just become overwhelmed and burned out,
Oh my
honestly.
God. Yes.
And then you start questioning yourself and the self-doubt and all this stuff. Anyways, let's
Yes.
move in to the
Yeah.
next part of our arc,
Yes.
I
Let's
guess.
let's do that.
Oh, sorry, I missed a question, which I thought was funny, so I'll ask it. Um, when you're in the selection process, do you ever wish someone would just assign you a project so you don't have to decide? Like someone else have the decision-making power?
I mean, like a tiny part of my brain would be like, that would be so like amazing and
Mhm.
like calming, and I wouldn't have to do anything. But I also know that that would never work for me. I would rebel like so hard against
Yeah.
it. So yeah, I mean, it's probably when I'm burnt out, I guess, that I'm
Mhm.
like, yes, just help me. But
Mhm.
I don't think it would help me.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I mean, not to pick on ChatGPT or anything, but I think with the AI, that's kind of what happens. Like I ask him, "Oh, please help me structure these ideas that I have," and then he gives me his ideas, and I'm like, "I don't like that. I'll
Yeah.
change that to this. I'll do this instead." But it like helps to sort of have someone to bounce, sort of off the ideas with,
Yeah.
which obviously you do. Like if you work in collaborations,
Yeah.
like this one.
Yes.
Um, but when you're just kind of trying to do a bunch of things again at the same time, yeah, it does help to have that other voice, on the other side, kind of just, yeah, giving you ideas. Even if you just want ideas to reject, it's still helpful in a way.
Yeah. Yeah, it does actually. All
Yeah.
right.
So next part of our arc, so we're reaching the
Yes.
top of the arc, if you will. And do you want me to do the sound here?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay,
yes.
so all of them have a sound. I know that sounds really strange, but
It
whatever. You
doesn't. It
just
doesn't.
roll with it. So then the top of the arc is, "Ah!" "I'm so overwhelmed. Will I ever get all this done? Should I just give up? What is life?"
I think
Okay,
this
very
will
dramatic.
be the part that is like for almost everybody listening who's multi-passionate. This will be the part that is
Yeah,
most recognizable.
mhm. Most recognizable. What is life?
Yeah. What is life? Like, what am I doing?
Oh
This
my
is never
god.
gonna happen. Yeah.
Like mini
Okay.
crisis every day, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Nice. All
So
right. So
first question, do you wanna
yeah.
go first or
Yeah.
should I?
I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you ever struggle to finish projects because new ideas keep pulling at you? And how do you handle that?
Not well.
That's a good answer.
Oh,
I like
I'm
that.
kidding. Some days better than others, but usually it's just a bit of a battle, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I think right now, at least in my journey, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but since I've really sort of pushed myself to kind of create, as I said before, like umbrella ideas, right? So
Yeah.
like these overarching sort of like um yeah, themes that I keep coming back to and sort of guiding myself with that. So even if I'm
Yeah.
doing many things, they kind of fit into that same, shebang.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I think in that sense, um, the new ideas keep coming to, like, add more to those
Yeah.
without me necessarily having finished other things that I've already done within those themes, so I guess how I handle that is I keep reminding myself that simplicity is something to strive for.
That's good, yeah. I
Like,
mean,
keep it simple, you know? I don't know, it's harder, it's
yeah,
sorry, easier said than done, for
yes.
sure, but I don't know. I don't know if you feel the same way or if it's really, like, scattered ideas for you.
I think I used to be really bad at finishing like
Mhm,
almost anything. I didn't know that was a bad thing, you know? Like
mhm,
I mean, I just got bored of it and I was like, "Yep, okay, I'm out, something
mhm,
new." But I think maybe it was Emily Wapnick's like book about like multi potentialites,
mhm.
and I guess she redefined like how or when is a project finished, you know?
Right.
And
That's a good
so
question.
for me, because of my love of learning, things can be finished when I feel like I've learned enough about a
Hmm,
sort of a topic or whatever.
yeah.
So and I think by redefining that, it feels like it's finished.
Right. I think what you're bringing up is super important, and now I'm just having all these thoughts and epiphanies. No, I'm kidding. But something that I think keeps coming up is this idea of sort of like I don't know if you want to call it like self-agency, but kind of like this idea of redefining things in your own terms and being your own sense of authority when
Yeah,
it comes to work, when it comes to projects, right? Because
yeah,
especially as a freelancer, no one's telling you have this done by X or do this or do that. So you have to be that authority for yourself,
yeah.
which is freedom, but it's also lots of responsibility.
Yes.
So I like that way of that you said, like that you decide when it's finished because,
Yeah.
you've gotten all you can from it. And I think we really have to work hard on, connecting with ourselves actually.
Yeah.
Enough to sort of know what is my laziness here, like what is me just giving up because it's hard,
Yeah.
and what is me like really no longer sort of gaining anything from this and it's
Yeah.
just draining my energy at this point. And I think when we're connected to ourselves, we can kind of intuit the difference between the two and have that discernment. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like if it's still aligned,
Mhm.
I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think also, I don't know, like projects, it always feels like when I say projects, I always
Mhm.
think about work projects, but
Mm.
I mean, can we see like hobbies as projects, I guess? I
Yeah,
don't know,
for
like,
sure. Mhm.
because I feel like my hobbies are less like high level and I can
Mm.
say I'm finished way easier
Yeah,
than with like the work projects I'm doing.
for
Then it
sure.
feels like I have to finish because maybe I told like my audience or like
Mhm.
some people or friends like I'm gonna do this.
Mhm.
So they're like, "Oh, are you still doing this?" I'm like,
Right. So
"No,
it's
I
like the
know."
accountability almost of
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
Which can
That's
be helpful but also not, I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure. And I
Um
honestly, I think maybe we have to do like a whole episode just on, you know, can something just be a hobby and not monetized? Because when
yes.
you do all these cool things and make
Yeah.
them your job, you kind of get into that trap of like, now I have to monetize every fun thing that I do, which is
Yeah.
not the case. But
Yeah.
maybe that's a conversation for another
Oh
day.
yeah, I mean, we will be talking about that at some
Yeah,
point, I'm
that's a big
sure.
one for sure.
Yes. Oh yes. I think so
So
too.
the next question
All right.
is, what's your go-to excuse when you jump to a new idea?
That
Big
is well, that is quite difficult, I think. I mean, I have a few probably. I
Yeah.
feel like I mean, I do use the I'm bored, it's not
Mm,
interesting. So
mhm,
and people always told me like you should only do things that are like like light you up and stuff. So
mhm,
I'm like, it's
mhm,
not lighting me up anymore. So
mhm,
I can quit. I guess, or if I haven't invested like a lot of time and money in it, it
mhm,
feels easier because
mhm.
there's no like outward pressure.
Right. That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think that's probably one of the most difficult, like, points. I don't know, because how can you tell again if it's an excuse
Yeah.
or if it's
It's real.
genuinely run its course? And I think
Yeah.
that taps into obviously the other question that we were talking about. And it's
Yep.
sometimes easier to understand the difference than it is other times.
Yep. It
Um,
is.
but I'm like you, like I think sometimes I'm just like, oh, this is not giving, that passion or that excitement. But the
Yeah.
problem is, I think our generation and just the times that we're living in now, everything is instant.
Yep.
Everything is like ephemeral. Like it
Yeah.
lasts 2 seconds and then it's boring.
I know.
And I think that really kind of taps into, this like huge epidemic, even like with, like ADHD.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have that sort of capacity to stay with things like
Yeah.
we used to. We just get bored and
That's so
we're not
true.
interested in like doing the long work or, sticking even when it's a little bit dull or
Yeah.
when it's difficult even. And so I do think we miss out a lot
I
on,
think so. Sometimes too. Yeah.
yeah, because it's like a relationship, right? I mean, think about a long-term relationship. It's not always like on a high, and
No,
it's not
that's true.
supposed to be. I mean, that would be exhausting as
Yeah, it
well.
would be.
It's supposed to have, it's like a wave, I know, like
Yeah. Here
it's
we
like
go
a
again.
wave, right? It's like a wave of the
But
ocean.
it is. You make such a good point because so like I think a year ago I signed
Mhm,
up for like skateboarding lessons. I was
mhm,
really excited.
mhm,
It was really cool, and I did like 20 lessons.
mhm.
And to be honest, I wasn't really done with it, but like somehow certain circumstances happened and I couldn't like sign up for the next 10 lessons. And I remember being a little like bummed. I was at the point of like, I'm not sure if I'm still really interested and still
Mhm.
enjoying it, but also I'm not sure if I'm ready to quit either.
Right.
And I do feel like bummed a little because now I quit and I don't feel the need to like get back into it. But I
Mm.
also haven't learned like enough to feel like I like did it right somehow. I don't know if that
Okay,
makes sense.
interesting.
So and I think I like read somewhere like when do you like need to not quit, I guess.
Right.
Because when like hobbies, you learn something and you want to like get better at it. But
Mhm.
if you quit too early, you won't.
You
And then
won't.
you won't have that experience and you won't
Mhm.
really feel maybe proud of yourself, I guess,
Yeah.
because you quit too early. So,
For sure. And I think, and I don't know, I've been reading things about that, like in lots of places. I don't know, this happens when you're kind of thinking about something.
yeah.
It's like everything starts showing up, on that
Yeah.
topic. But it's interesting because I read somewhere someone was talking about what does expertise even mean
Yeah.
today? Because, we're in this time where more and more this kind of, thing of doing many things, many projects, and even if you don't like didn't do that intentionally, even if you're just
Yeah.
employed in a company, you often have to wear many hats, right?
Yep.
And do many different jobs in one job. And so I find it interesting that the world is not pushed, unless it's, specific fields, obviously, but it feels like more and more the world isn't pushed towards expertise. But then that's also a problem because when you do many things, it's like knowing many languages, right? You can know many languages, but you'll never know one single language as well as someone who only knows that one language.
Yeah.
So there is a compromise, right?
Yeah,
You
for
can
sure.
never get as good. Like I could never play the piano as good as someone who plays the piano 8 hours a day every day since they're four, right? It's just I'm just not gonna be that good. Or if I
Yeah.
just sometimes play and then don't play for years.
Yep.
I don't know. I just think there is something that you lose and there is something that you gain, and you just
Yeah.
have to kind of accept that. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, you're so right.
Should we go on to the next question?
Yes. Okay.
I think it's
What
the
was
how,
it?
yeah.
How
How
do
do
you
you bring, yeah.
yeah. Yeah, go on.
Oh, okay. How do you bring yourself back to focus when your brain wants to chase a new idea? So kind of still in this theme, but a little
Yeah.
bit different.
Also very difficult. It's like at the point that you're wanting to quit, but you
Mm.
already like you know now that it's maybe fear or whatever. So
Mm.
you know you have to move past that. I guess for me it is learning like about my why. I know
Mm,
this
I like
slides
that.
maybe very cliche, but I guess like, why am I doing this? Is this like fun? Is it helping someone? Is it like bringing me something?
Mm.
And if it still is, I try to like fix a dopamine hit
Mhm.
by, going for a walk, like working out, because
Yeah.
I know it's like I need that focus to get back into the project, I guess. So I really, yeah, and I've used, like, in the past I was very like hard on myself, but I know
Mhm.
that doesn't work and that makes it so much worse, and I will like procrastinate forever.
Yeah.
So I do try to be like kind, and maybe like add like a side quest. That's what they
Mhm.
are calling it. I've seen
Mm.
online,
Side quest,
like a
interesting.
little side quest that can make you like get that dopamine hit, that is a little
Mhm.
project. It's not big,
Mhm.
it's not going to overshadow your big thing,
Mhm.
but it will help you
Right.
get your focus and like fun back, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, no, of course. And I think realistically, we know that, not all moments in life are fun. So
Yeah.
sticking with it also means, you know, that maturity that comes with
Yeah.
like adulthood, right? Like, okay, you can make things fun, of course, and you should because
Yeah.
that joy is wonderful. But there will be moments that you just need to roll up your sleeves and get the
Yeah.
job done, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. No
Unfortunately.
one likes doing the dishes. And then whoever
No.
says they do, I mean, please come and do my dishes. Um, but yeah, no, I actually really like what you said. I really resonate with that, the returning to the why, because I think the why sometimes stays the same, but it sometimes changes as well, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, we're always evolving, we're always growing. So sometimes we grow out of things, and that's also
Yeah.
okay to acknowledge, but you really have to keep coming back to it. Like, why? Why is this important for my
Yeah.
life? Why is this important, for my journey, for my evolution, whatever you want to say?
Yeah.
Um, how am I contributing even? I don't know. Is it just a whim? So I think if you can really come back to that idea of why, I think that is definitely stronger than just, you have to do this
Yeah.
because yes.
Yeah. I think the why might even be like part of like in the beginning when you're trying to choose
Mhm.
an idea. I think if you're really like struggling and everything seems like equally important, try to figure out
Yeah.
why you're doing things, I
Yeah,
guess.
for
Yeah.
sure. And what you want to get out of it, right? In
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah.
All right. I
Okay.
think we've made it past the ah and we've made it to the oof
Yeah.
at the end of the arc,
Yeah.
and I guess the oof lands with the I'm done, but what's next? Dum dum
Yes.
dum.
We should not forget to celebrate because I
Yeah.
know we tend to forget that.
Oh yeah.
Celebrate that we made it.
Yeah. Oh, that just gets completely overridden because
Yep.
when you're constantly thinking of new things to do, and again, I repeat, in this day and age, it's even worse because you
Yeah.
have to feel busy all the time and you
Yeah.
have to feel productive all the time. Um, so it's like, I don't know about you. I love Notion. I'm like constantly using Notion for everything to organize myself. This is not a sponsor for Notion. I just love Notion. Um, I have so many things on my to-do list there. Like so many, like it's ridiculous. So obviously when I finish one, I don't feel that like
Yep.
what's it called? Like the sense of completion isn't
Yeah.
really there because I look and there's so many other
Yeah.
things there and I'm like,
It's so true.
okay, I've done one, but I have to do 700 more. So,
I know. I
yeah.
know. I feel the same. And it gets worse though. Like it feels like because our to-do list is never ending.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that though. Like because I do like sometimes I secretly, when I did something
Mhm.
like the laundry or whatever, and
Yeah.
it wasn't on my to-do list, I put it on there just to
Just so
like,
you can take it. Yeah,
yeah,
done that. Yeah, 100%. We've all been there.
yeah, probably. I mean, we need to feel good about ourselves.
We really do, and we need to take something off the burden is big. We need to take
But
something off.
I think we do like I feel I don't really celebrate whenever I'm like I
Yeah.
finish a big project.
Mhm.
I put it out there. I'm
Yeah.
like I'm done and on to the next. And I know a lot of us do, but I
Yeah.
also feel it's kind of it's not, I mean, sad isn't maybe the right word, but like
Yeah.
we did like a huge
Mhm.
thing
Mhm.
and we should really feel proud and like do something to
Yeah.
acknowledge that we did a huge thing.
So true. I mean, and even if it's not like an outwardly celebration, even if it's just contemplative, like a reflection or anything, I think
Yeah,
that's really valuable because a lot of the times what seems to happen is we just we don't digest.
yeah,
I've said this word before, but here it comes again. We don't digest the things that we do, and we don't really sort of sit with them in silence for a minute to just sort of see over time how those things sink in. You know,
yeah.
it's kind of like anything, be it a meal, be it like a treatment, be it anything. We don't give the time for the things to set in, and it's more often than not, things are not immediate.
No, yeah,
So if we don't really check in, you know, like on the day after, a week after, a month after, to see how that thing has shaped us, we're the ones missing out, really,
yeah. We
because
are.
each thing teaches us something really valuable, but we need to sort of mull over it for a while to arrive at like what that teaching was. Um, so yeah, I think that's definitely something that probably we can all work on.
Yeah, I think so too. And I know I'm skipping a question. We'll come back to it, but I think it
Okay.
ties into
Uh-huh.
perfectly. Like, what's one thing you have finished recently that made you feel proud, even if it
Ooh.
was small?
That's a good question, and now I have to think about it.
Yes, I knew that was gonna happen.
Okay, no, actually, I have an
All
answer.
right.
Wow, this is a miracle. So, I've been really trying hard to work on sort of, organizing my ideas and setting up my own website because I
Yeah,
realized that, yeah, you know, we have all these platforms that we work on, and it's great, but at the end of the day, these platforms change all the time, and there's no guarantee that they'll stay there in the same way all the time. So it's nice to have your own physical space. And it's even like having your own workplace, if that makes sense,
yeah,
because I work from home, right? And no
yeah,
one's come into my home. So they arrive at my website. It's kind of like my shop, if you
yeah,
will. And it's been really actually something I'm pretty proud of, you know, just being able to organize all the things that I'm doing into like something that's cohesive and
yeah,
sort of more simple, and it's been difficult, and I'm still not finished, but I'm glad that I'm doing it.
yeah. Good. No, that's great. That is awesome, and it's so true. Your website is like
Mhm.
your yeah, your
Your
whole
business card.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we need to get away from social media and like
Oh, it's just because it's too much. It's too
yeah,
much.
it's true.
So what about you? What's something
Yeah,
you're proud
I
of?
was trying to like
Were you trying to
say
think? Yeah.
things more. Well, I mean, I feel work-wise, I haven't really finished a lot
Mhm,
of stuff. I'm still
mhm,
like in the thick of it, like
mhm.
working on a few things. So that's difficult. I mean, I want to say like I signed up for like a random pole dance lesson, and
That's so
I
fun.
went. I finished that. No, I don't know.
That's great, and was it something, like, out of your comfort zone?
It was. I've
That's
always wanted to try
wonderful.
one. And so I just like I sent a message to somebody. I was like,
Uh-huh.
can I still join?
Well, I think that's a win for sure,
Yeah,
like,
I think it
stepping out of
is.
your
I
comfort
mean,
zone, doing something completely new, that's wonderful.
yeah, on my own because I
Mm.
also like I don't like to go on my own. I
Mhm,
also like to take friends, but
mhm.
not everybody was interested. So
It is definitely a challenging thing, I would suggest. Like, I would think.
yes, it was. But I
But was
mean,
it fun?
it was awesome actually.
That's wonderful.
And also, I think that was also a good one. I mean, after the lesson, I was like, all right, let's sign me up for 10 lessons. And then I was like, no, wait, maybe you should just like wait a few days
Yeah,
and then
let it sit,
let it
right?
simmer and think about
Mhm.
it some more. And now I'm like, I still maybe want to do it, but not right now. So that's good.
Well,
I
that's
didn't
actually I feel like
impulsively.
that's a win.
Yes, I think so too.
Okay, so I think we've already kind of answered the, taking breaks between projects. I think we've covered that. So
Yeah.
to conclude,
Yes.
we just have two final little mini questions.
Yes.
Um, so first one, do you work better with structure or with total freedom? This is a trick question because
Yeah, it is. I mean, I felt like I don't know. I feel like both, neither.
yeah, exactly. That's the correct answer. Both, neither.
I mean, there's like a part of me that really like would love to have some kind of structure,
Mhm,
and I mean, I've always dreamed of being a person that is like, oh, I wake up at that hour, I sit at
mhm,
my desk, I do this, and like have a very
mhm,
structured day.
mhm.
But then when I really try it on, it does not work for me at
Yeah.
all. I
Mhm,
mean, yeah, I
mhm,
heard people talk about like time blocks,
mhm,
like having like an hour
mhm,
somewhere in the day to work, and I'm
mhm.
like, yeah, I don't know if that would work for me.
The thing with these very, like, structured things is, I mean, maybe it's good for studying, maybe, but I
Yeah.
don't know, I think we're all different, and at the end of the day, my inspiration comes in bursts, and I'm not gonna be like, "Nope, sorry, inspiration, you can go die because it's not your time.
Yeah, you can go
You
die.
have to wait until 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
That's your slot."
exactly.
Like, that's not how it works, right? But at the same time, it is very important to not let the freedom or total freedom take over because then, you're also a slave to that, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't get things done, you don't get rent paid, and it's just a big
Nope.
fat mess. So balance, balance,
Yeah.
balance, balance.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and the last question.
That's a good one. Okay, what would you say to someone listening who feels stuck because they want to do everything, but they don't know where to start?
I have a one-word answer. Start.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was going to say exactly the same. Like, take action, do anything. It doesn't matter what. Yeah.
Yeah, just because, I mean, overthinking and self doubt are crippling, and they really are the beginning of the end. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's best to just sort of, and I know this is something which for a lot of us is difficult, but it's better to just like when it's like a small child learning to walk, it's better to just stand up, fall a bunch of times,
Yeah.
but you're testing the waters, you're trying, you're exploring, you're gonna fail, you're gonna land on things that you don't want, but eventually it'll start making sense.
Yeah, and I know that's probably not the answer you wanted to hear. I
Mhm.
remember like 10 years ago, or even maybe 5 years ago, if like somebody said that to me, I'd be like, no, that's not what
I
I
don't want
want.
that. I want
But
it
I
to work
mean,
out like a movie.
yeah,
No,
yeah, but it doesn't happen that way. And I
no.
had to learn the hard way too. But it
I'm
is so
still learning.
important.
I
Yeah,
mean, I don't know what you're saying.
yes. Oh no, I'm totally like accomplished. I'm here now. Yeah,
I'm
no, that's
still
not.
struggling. Like, I struggle with this a lot
Yeah,
still.
that's so true.
Um, but I know that I'm grateful that I'm doing. I think the action part is really important to
Yeah.
do. Put in the work, do it. Don't be so hung up on the answer
Yeah. Nope.
and the results because they won't come as quickly as you want all the time.
Oh
So,
no, yeah. Let go of all the expectations because it's killing you.
yeah, and
Yeah.
also be patient,
Yeah.
which sucks, but
A
it's
lot.
necessary as
I
well.
know, I
Patience,
know.
patience, patience.
Yeah, I know, I know.
I just realized we still have our lightning round, but at the same time, I think our lightning round will be reserved for our new guests. And this is a
Yes.
great way to sort of introduce that part of our podcast, which is we will not only be us two in the podcast, but we'll have guest speakers. And we have some guest speakers lined up in the months to come, which we will announce on our newsletters
Yep.
very shortly. So please stay tuned for that because we have some
Yes.
fun people that we want to speak to and get to know their, ideas about ideas.
Yes. Yeah, that's gonna be exciting.
Definitely exciting. So yeah, we've already done the lightning round on each other. I don't think we need to do that again.
Nope, we don't. Okay.
All right. Anything
That's it.
else you want to add before we close off for the day?
No, I think we've covered a lot of juicy things.
Yes,
So
indeed. And now hopefully both of us leave here with even more ideas.
yes, that is always, I mean, the answer is always ideas.
Ideas. The answer is always ideas. That is the takeaway from today's podcast. The
Exactly.
answer is always ideas.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next Wednesday of June. Yeah,
Yeah.
first Wednesday of June. See you.
See you. Bye.